All right, y'all, I'm back. 10 mistakes, 10 rookie moves that happen when you are a professional photographer, just starting, all of the above. So let's dive in. Number one, taking too many photos. I used to do this when I was a younger photographer. I would just overwhelm myself with hella photos from like a shoot with 2 looks. It's kind of counterproductive if you think about it. Like at the end of the day, you know, less is more, and sometimes you can get less from just doing a more efficient flow of work. And you guys heard in my last video to check out the 10 ways to step up your photo game, and that'll kind of give you guys the idea of the flow, so you won't have to take 2,000 images. But I've seen people take 2,000 images or like 3,000. It's like, that's crazy for like a lookbook, or like, unless you have that many looks, which the only time I've ever taken that many images would be for e-commerce. But like beauty shoots, anything with portraits, I'm taking 800 and below, just because for the producer of the set, or the brand, whoever is covering that particular photo shoot, they're not gonna want to skim through 2,000, 3,000 photos. Like, and sometimes it's just the same pose, so just be weary of just overdoing it. Number 2 mistake would be no direction of the subject. You want to make sure you're guiding your subjects and your models throughout the whole shoot, making them feel comfortable, making them feel at home in front of the camera, because not everybody is comfortable shooting in front of a camera. So you want to make sure that you are the direction, you are the guidance, and you are really helping them to either bring out their best self or helping them execute whatever storyline you're going for. Number 3, lighting. Lighting is always important, you guys. You guys know this. This makes or breaks the image. That could be a big mistake for some people, because not everybody knows lighting. It is intimidating at first, especially if you're in studio. So you want to make sure that you're not making people look unflattering in the image. The time of day that you're shooting is best for whatever you're trying to execute. So I normally don't shoot during the day outdoors, and that's like anywhere between 11 a.m. and like 2. The latest I'll start is probably like 4-ish, because the sun is highest in the sky at that time, and it's really not flattering for the face or anything. So being conscious of that and knowing, you know, not to make that mistake is very, very pivotal. 4, wrong location. That is a major mistake. And in a sense of just choosing the wrong location, just not being adamant about like what should be in the image. Sometimes we choose locations that don't even make sense. So just being aware of what the location is, what it's going to give to the image, and how it's going to make your subject look ultimately is important. Number 5, over editing, over retouching. Stop over editing the skin. What did Kendrick say? I'm sick and tired of the Photoshop. I'm not sick and tired of it, but I'm gonna need y'all to pipe down on the airbrush, because I've seen photos where people look like porcelain. And let's be real, like, we live in a real ass world. Like, let's stop overdoing things. Let's stop overdoing the Photoshop. Nobody looks like a glazed donut. So, you know, pipe down the Photoshop. If you have trouble over editing, I would say to go to an image, maybe 20 to 30 minutes on it. Once you are like, I would even spend, honestly, I don't even spend 20 to 30 minutes on photos, guys, but some people do. Some people really like take a minute to get into the editing phase. But I would encourage people to walk away from the computer when you feel like you're doing too much, because that's when the over editing takes place. So make sure that you're conscious of skin, making it look as natural as possible, and just look good. Like, you want your subjects to look real. Number 6, Composition. You do not want to get lazy with composition. We can all fall into this. We can all fall into this habit of just sticking to like one viewpoint when it comes to shooting. I love portraiture and I love that one straight on clean shot, but I need people to help me switch it up sometimes because I would get comfortable there. So not getting lazy with that. Don't make that mistake. Be open to changing things up. Be open to taking new angles in different directions and guiding your eye in new ways to try different things, because ultimately that's the point of photography, to try different things, to be innovative with the viewer and just try new ways to see things.
Don't get lazy, y'all.
7, missing a mood. This is a big mistake. Don't miss the mood. Don't miss the mood. But missing the mood is basically like a photo that is flat. I think of like, when I think of a flat photo, I think of stock photos. I think of photo that just has no substance. So you don't want to miss the mood. That's the important part of what makes your work your work. I know when people look at my work, they're like, yeah, the mood is vibrant. The mood is color. The mood is happy. The mood is, it's not always happy. Sometimes it's sad. But, you know, the mood is very bold. Like, my mood in my work is very bold. So I think getting a mood for yourself, for your work, for your story, and pushing that and making sure that it's always present every time you shoot. And it could be different types of mood, different types of emotions, but always having something to circle back to. Key. Don't miss it. Don't skim over that. It is very key to creating. So keep that in mind. Number 8. You don't want to make the mistake of just like having a busy photo with hella distractions in it. So like distractions can be anywhere from a trash bag flying to a car zooming down the street that has nothing to do with what you were trying to capture. So making sure those distractions are out of the way before you even take the picture. Just like, I know when I'm outdoors, especially because that's like where all the distractions are normally if you're shooting, but I like to gauge like traffic. I like to gauge, you know, is the scenery clean? Did we clean up the ground? Did we try to move trash? Did we try to, you know, did we put in effort to make sure the image could look as best as possible? So always putting in that extra effort to make sure your work is looking clean and just like, not even just clean, but just like how you wanted the viewer to see it. I think circling back to how you want the viewer to see your work, your story, your mood is important. And number 9, overexposure. You do not want to make the mistake of overexposing a whole entire shoot. I think that's like one of the famous photographer, Gordon Parks. He had his first shoot with the brand, and he said that he overexposed every image except for one. Thankfully, we live in a digital age where overexposure is not as stressful as when we were shooting film, but it is still important because you could still be shooting a bunch of photos. I've even made this mistake. I make this mistake now at shoots where I'm just shooting and it's like, girl, that is not the right lighting. That is not the right setting. You know, sometimes you just get too excited. So always making sure that your images are exposed at the right settings or a little bit underexposed so that you can just bring that light back in there and make sure that the image is beautiful. And number 10, the final, the key,
the ingredient,
the sauce, storyline. You do not want to make the mistake and miss the storyline. Okay? This kind of keys into, you know, missing the mood, but more so the storyline is important because I put out my images in sets and each set has its own story. And I think if you photograph by story, like your work will ultimately in general be one big ass like book. But just making sure you have a storyline is important. The story is what draws the viewer in. The story is the juice. It is the cream of the crop. So you want to make sure. For me personally, the storyline, I jot down stories. Either I write down a storyline if it's a personal project. That's a little bit more in depth if I'm doing personal projects. But if I'm just doing like a regular storyline across the board, I'm just maybe shooting just to shoot or create, I will do something on Pinterest. I will jot down an idea or just send it to my friend, like, we should do this in a setting like this, or we should create this kind of storyline to just captivate an audience and also to really get your point across. Like, at the end of the day, you know, we're taking pictures, but we're also speaking our voices. Your camera is your third eye, so you want to make sure that you are telling what you want to say through that tool. It's sitting down, thinking about it, making a web. You know, if you got a whiteboard, jot down ideas. Like, all those things help for you to create the ultimate image that you're trying to, you know, show to the world, even change the world with the image. So make sure you're writing down those ideas and just taking note before you go out in the field and shoot. So hopefully these 10 rookie mistakes, beginner mistakes, or just like mistakes in general, because I still make some of these mistakes and I'm consider myself a professional. So keeping these in mind before you shoot, before you get out in the field, is very key to having a successful shoot and ultimately leading you more into mastering your gaze. So stay tuned for more videos. I'll be back. Peace.